Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing D365 Business Central distribution. Today we're going to hopefully walk you through some advanced features that will help you expand your usage of the distribution capabilities inside of D365 Business Central. We're going to go through some Outlook interconnectivity as well as walk through some workflows. So with that, we're going to get started. I have my screen shared out here and I'm going to hide that. Okay, so I'm going to start inside of D365 because I want to kind of lay the groundwork here. I've gone in and set up a vendor, which is our company, Costerisan, and I have set myself up as the primary contact out here with my email out here. And so by doing this, as I'm starting to leverage my Outlook, I will be able to get the dots connected between D365 Business Central and my Outlook client. There is a minor install that has to happen, a relatively easy thing to do, and we can walk you through that if you're interested in moving down the path of taking advantage of this. But this is a really cool, powerful tool that is now available to you to be able to start looking at your information inside of D365, all from within your Outlook client. So let me move this out of my way. And to get in there, so here's the email that I sent myself that's saying, hey, please pay this invoice. Maybe this is one of my vendors and not me talking to myself. By coming into here, I click on it. Here's the content of it, and I can see that there's actually a PDF that's been attached to this. So what we can do is, back on my home, there we go. I have this new app that's out here called Business Central. And when I click on it, I can go to my contact insight. And what this is going to do is it's going to go out, search Business Central for this email address and see if it's attached to any customers or vendors, which hopefully it did. It found me in Costerisan. And so from this screen, I actually have lots of things that I could be doing. This, instead of saying, hey, could you pay this invoice for us? This could be somebody inquiring about this invoice. Have you paid this invoice yet? So on this screen, you could actually come down into here to find out, hey, do we have that one in our system yet? I could review all of their invoices. I could be reviewing other pieces of data about this vendor, all from within my Outlook client. This is pretty cool and pretty handy. So from that perspective, all I really wanted to do at this point is I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on the new button. And I'm going to tell it that I want to bring in this purchase invoice because they're asking me to pay their invoice. So I'm going to do a new purchase invoice. And it's going to take me in here. And they gave me the invoice number right in the body. So I'm going to key it in right here. And then all I need to do at this point is I'm hitting the ellipse button, which are the three buttons or the three dots here. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to ask it to create this from the attachment. And what it's going to do is grab that attachment that was in this email. I'm going to click OK. And then I just need to go in and fill in an appropriate account for this. And I'm just going to throw this into cost of labor, because this was some consulting services that was done for us. And there's my one at and 2000. Okay. So when I'm done with this, I can back out of this invoice and I'm going to say yes. And so then I should be able to come into our Costerisan inside of the full D365. And if I cruise on down, I should have invoices. And there's that new invoice that we just created for $2,000, all coming in from Outlook. Okay, so that's pretty cool and does some interesting things. I think it's a really neat tool, lets you stay focused on your Outlook. Doesn't mean you have to keep jumping out of one piece of software, jump into the other piece of software, bounce back and forth as you're trying to look up data and move things around. The other piece that you can do inside of Outlook related to this and related to getting invoices and things done here is I've got a second email that I sent myself. And notice this one's referencing items and quantity. So again, I'm going to use the Business Central Insights. And this time, I'm going to tell it that I want to go out here and create a new purchase order because I was interested in buying some London swivel chairs and an Antwerp conference table. Obviously, it's not a very big conference table if I only got 2 chairs to go around this thing. But we're going to go back here and just click on this purchase order. And lo and behold, look at that. It pulled right out of the body of this email the item numbers in my D365 system and brought in the quantities associated with this. I can say, yep, these are the items that I wanted to bring in. I can click OK. And then our system should have gone ahead and brought that all in. Why didn't that come in? Let me back up a second. Let's try this one more time. Purchase order. Oh, I did not click my add buttons. That's fine. And then click OK. And there we go. So now we brought in our items. We brought in our quantities. It brought in our costs based on the settings within our system. And if I were to just go ahead and back out of this, again, I'm just sitting inside the email, inside of my Outlook client. Also, please understand that this Business Central functions whether you're using the Outlook web access or you're using the full desktop client for Outlook, right? It works in both environments, gives you the capability to be able to look at information. It actually is surfacing out this kind of detail inside of there. And we're going to go back and take another quick look at it in a second. So back in my vendor here, I wanted to go, not my vendor, I wanted to go back out to my purchase orders. And I wanted to look at the new purchase order that I just created right here. Okay, so there we go. At this point, I could go through our normal receiving process and posting process, things like that. So the Outlook client, again, as we go in, and it doesn't matter who you click on. So I also have set Nick Conley in our organization, who's going to take over from me in a little bit here and walk you through some workflows. But in my system, I had an email from Nick, there he is. Has nothing to do with dealing with an invoice, but what I wanted you to see was if I go to Business Central Contact Insights, Nick's been attached to a customer, and so it found his email, and that's the company that in our fake world Nick works for, A Datum Corporation. And so again, I could come out to here and be having a conversation with them saying, hey, you know, you're calling about a posted sales shipment or a posted invoice. You know, we never received these goods. I would be able to go ahead and click into this and actually be able to review all of the shipments that have gone out to Nick's company and have a conversation with him, all sitting inside of Outlook. I could be emailing back and forth regarding this stuff, or I could just be looking it all up here as I'm looking at the information that he's provided me in the email. So again, it gives you the ability to go out here and surface out a lot of details. I also have the ability to come into here and I can pop this screen out so that I can just go right into this particular area of it and not just be tied inside of my Outlook client there. I can actually bring this out so I've got a little more real estate as I'm looking through these things. So this is a pretty cool, pretty handy tool. We do showcase this at a lot of our sales, in our sales processes, but we don't always get around to getting customers to go ahead and take advantage of it. So we wanted to kind of showcase this to you guys today, let you see what it looks like, and see if we can maybe get you guys to start looking at this. This is a really simple install to get this working. And again, it just lets you start to surface out a lot more information about your statistics, about your sales to date, things like that. So at this point, that was pretty much everything that I wanted to cover related to the Outlook client. And what I wanted to do now was to be able to hand this over to Nick, and he's going to walk us through doing a distribution workflow process. So as we were to go out there and create a purchase order, say from here, or create a sales order, can we go through an approval process for that thing to be able to be approved through our system, have it be approved through an email trail or whatever. Nick's going to walk us through those details, and I'm going to hand over the reins.
Okay. So from inside of Business Central, we're going to walk through a purchase order approval workflow. So in the setup and extensions, you come into workflows, and you'll hit, when you're going to create a new purchase order workflow, you'll hit the new, you'll drop down and go from a template. There are a lot of different templates in here for different workflows. For administration, finance purposes, integrations, purchases, payables, your purchase documents, sales documents, and so forth. So what I did is I just created a purchase document related to purchase order approvals. So we'll go in and take a look at what I created. So in the purchase order approval workflow, you'll see conditions and responses. These are kind of like if-then statements if you're used to coding in Excel. So this basically what this is saying is when there's a new document that is an order and it's open, take this action of creating a restriction so that it cannot be processed, set the document status to pending approval, create an approval request using approver and approver chain, and then send an approval request for the record and create a notification. So that's going to send the email out to the particular person that's next in the approval chain. So then these are the rest of the steps going forward, just saying that if there's more than one approval, it's going to keep going down the chain until it meets the specified requirements. And when it's done, it'll remove the restriction and allow it to be posted. So I did allude to the approval workflow chain. So we're going to go in and take a look at that real quick before we get into our demonstration. So if you come into your approval user setup, you'll see that I have 3 users that I've identified in the approval chain. There's a couple of mock accounts that I had made so that I could do this for you. There's the D365 one. His approver is the D365 2 account. And you do need to have a specified amount for the sales amount approval limits and the purchase amount approval limits. You can't set them to 0, unfortunately, so I just set them at $1. And then you can put in their emails so they receive the emails through the chain. So then D365 2 has me as their approval. I'm going to give D365 2 up to $1,000. So if D365 1 puts in a purchase request for $500, D365 2 will be able to approve it, and it will no longer come to me for the final approval. So we're going to come back in here. We're going to switch this to be enabled. And then I'm going to switch over to my D365 1 account. This seems to be, here we go. So for D365 1, I'm going to come into purchasing. I'm going to go to purchase order. I'm going to create a new. And I will select any vendor. Let's go with Fabricam. And we'll look up an item. We'll buy the Athens desk. We'll buy 3 of them. So then now we've reached our 2,000 breakpoint. And even if we did have an invoice, we would not be able to post this. We would get the error because it has not been approved yet. Try to preview this posting. Oh, okay. So you'd have to go into here, you got the request approval. It's going to tell us that the approval has been sent. And if we back out of here, we can come down and see this Fabricam invoice. is now pending approval for the $2,342 amount. So I'm going to head over to my D365 2 account. And I'm just going to go to the home screen and show you what it looks like when it comes over to him. And in their queue, you'll see we have some requests to approve. So you can come in just by clicking on that tile. We can see the Fabricam for the Fabricam invoice, and you can open the record right from the approvals. So if you want to take a look at, what they're buying, okay, it's an Athens desk, buying 3 of them. I say, okay, this looks good, so we'll add a comment. And we'll say, this invoice has been approved by the manager. And I will approve it. So now it's on its next step, which is going to my account. And when I refresh my screen, I can see that I now have approval requests. Oh, that's not the right approval. Let's try to reload that one more time. Oh, sorry, I'm in D365 2, not the Nick Conley account. Here's my account. And if I refresh this, hopefully I'll get that approval request. And there's my Fabricam invoice. I'll go in and I'll open this record. And I can see that they're buying 3 Athens desks. Now, my final decision may be, I don't think we need to buy 3 Athens desks. We only need to purchase 2 desks. We don't need to have the extra one in inventory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to say, please reorder with only 2 Athens desks. And the nice thing about this is in the comment section, we can see who created this comment and the date and time. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to reject this purchase order. So looping all the way back to our D365 1, he would then get a notification through his email that it's been rejected, and he'd be able to come into the purchase orders, go down to the Fabricam invoice. Since it was rejected, the record would be reopened. And once we get in here, we can come into our navigate, our approvals under actions. Under order, we have approvals. Sorry about that. These menus can be tough to navigate. And we can open up our comments page. So we can see that the manager approved it. He thought it looked fine. But if you come here, the Nick Conley account rejected it and said, please order with only 2 Athens desks. So you can say, okay, I can't buy 3, but I can buy 2. So let me come back into here, and we will change our quantity to 2. Come back in and send the approval request and be on our merry way again. So then you just follow the same steps, and then when it gets to the final, it will be approved, and then this document will be able to be printed and sent it off to the vendor. So that's all I have on the workflows. Thank you for attending today and taking a look at what we have to offer.